Good evening and thank you for joining us. Thunder Bay Police have released the name of the victim in a fatal shooting on Pearl Street this past Sunday. 41-year-old James Chappé of Thunder Bay is the city's third homicide victim of 2022. One suspect is still at large following the arrest of two people on murder charges earlier this week. Lee Noonan reports.
James Chappé succumbed to his injuries shortly after the shooting at a Pearl Street apartment complex late Sunday night. The post-mortem examination has been completed and a funeral is planned for early next week. Eyewitnesses reported hearing at least 6 gunshots during the incident. City Police Detective Inspector Jeremy Pearson says Chappé is the only known victim of the shooting.
At this point, we're not speculating on the exact nature of the relationship between the victim and the accused. I will, however, state that at this point, investigators do not believe this to have been a random incident. It appears to have been a planned and targeted incident.
2 suspects have been arrested and charged with first-degree murder, 44-year-old Jamie Osmar and 49-year-old James Halverson, both of Thunder Bay. A third suspect has yet to have been identified. Police have now released the crime scenes, but say there is still a police presence in the area.
We remain actively interviewing witnesses, actively seeking witnesses through canvas.
This was the second shooting death in Thunder Bay this month. Pearson says the police force is concerned by increasing gun violence and particularly gun-related deaths.
We're gravely concerned by the influx of firearms to the region, by the fact that firearm violence is now more commonplace than not when we start to deal with these serious offenses and assaults. So certainly I will acknowledge it's a concern to the police, and I would say to the community at large.
The investigation is ongoing and more information may become available once forensic results have been reviewed. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
The OPP is now offering a $50,000 reward in connection with the death of a teenage girl in Manitouwadge more than 30 years ago.
Because we know someone out there has to know what happened to Catherine Gowan.
15-year-old Catherine Gowan was found dead on July 8th of 1990. At the time, OPP said foul play was not suspected. Unconfirmed reports indicate she was found after a party at her house with her throat slashed, but police originally deemed it a suicide. Family members lobbied police to reopen the case, and in 2015, OPP uncovered new evidence and began treating it as a homicide. Spokesperson Bill Dixon says offering large rewards has worked on cold cases in the past, and investigators hope it will bring someone with information out of the woodwork.
This is really an opportunity for us to reinvigorate the case, to bring this back out, to make sure that not only the media but the public is paying attention, because I mean it's been a long time, and we know that people do forget things, but maybe that this bringing up the news that there's a $50,000 reward, that might not be someone's motivating factor to come forward at this point in time, but it might be something that motivates someone to say, I know something.
Anyone with even the smallest bit of information is asked to contact the OPP. The Special Investigations Unit has cleared a Kenora OPP officer of criminal charges after a 40-year-old man suffered several rib fractures while in police custody last October. Police arrested the man, and while transporting him to the detachment, he threatened to harm them and spit in the face of one of the officers. The man was brought to the ground, and another officer kneed him in the ribs several times. Once in his cell, the man complained of pain and was later diagnosed with rib fractures on both his left and right sides. The SIU has accepted the injuries were as a result of reasonable use of force, and no charges will be laid. Voters looking to cast their ballots before the June 2nd election can now do just that. Several advanced polling sites opened this morning in both local ridings. It's a chance for the public to beat those long lines. Advanced votes can be cast until May 28th. Voters were lined up this morning at the 55 Plus Center when the polling station opened at 10 a.m. Other local advanced polls for Thunder Bay Superior North, or the other advanced poll rather, is at the Moose Hall. For voters in Thunder Bay Atikokan, the advanced polls are available at the Ramada Airlane Hotel and the Slovak Legion. There will be several other locations opening up in the coming days in the city and the surrounding region. Julio Gomes is the returning officer for Thunder Bay Superior North. he has some advice for those looking to cast their vote ahead of time.
To come later in the day, you don't have to be the first one at the door at 10 a.m. when we open. Anytime in the afternoon is usually slower. Around supper time between 5 and 7 it gets busier. So if you want to avoid the crowds, come in the middle of the day. You don't have to wait until June the 2nd to cast your ballot.
The returning offices for both local ridings are also open for voting until June 1st. The office for Thunder Bay Superior North is at County Fair Plaza, while the Thunder Bay Atikokan office is located at the former Agnew H. Johnston School. Tonight we continue our local coverage of the Ontario election as we meet another candidate in Thunder Bay Superior North. Tracy McKinnon is representing the Ontario Green Party after running federally back in the fall. Vasilios Bellos has tonight's candidate profile.
Tracy McKinnon previously ran for the Green Party in the September federal election, trying to win the Thunder Bay Rainy River riding. She finished in 5th place in that race, which was won by Liberal Marcus Pulowski. McKinnon is confident that election experience will be valuable during this provincial run and explains what she believes the Green Party can accomplish.
Change for future generations, for my grandson, for my for his future generations, and for the whole community as a whole at a provincial level rather than at a federal level.
McKinnon points to healthcare and reconciliation as two of the biggest issues on her mind during this election. Along with this, she stresses the importance of affordable housing and addressing poverty across the province. This topic means so much to McKinnon, as she knows the struggle firsthand.
I've been in my place for 10 years, just over 10 years. Since then, I've been, as I keep mentioning that I have been homeless. So to have this place to call home, a roof over my head, a place to lay my head, that is vital. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't be here doing this.
McKinnon says the Ontario Green Party platform really drew her to run again, and she believes it should encourage voters to cast their ballots for her and the Greens on June 2nd.
Guaranteed livable income or basic income and or double ODSP rates. That we know, looking at the Income, the Dolphin Experiment, the Ontario Basic Income Pilot Project, the CERB, the CRB, we have the data. We have the programs already that have been previously in place. We know they work.
Vasilios Bellos, TBT News.
NDP leader Andrea Horwath was supposed to arrive in Thunder Bay this afternoon after a campaign stop in Sault Ste. Marie. Unfortunately, she's become the second party leader to test positive for COVID-19 in recent days, joining the Green Party's Mike Schreiner. Siobhan Morris has the details.
Days after the 4 major party leaders shared the debate stage, 2 have tested positive for COVID-19.
I'd like to introduce you to a worker who I know.
Andrea Horwath has been forced to campaign from a hotel room.
Nice to see you through this unfortunate situation, but it is what it is.
Mike Schreiner's meeting and greeting is also happening through a screen. The timing is frustrating for the Green Party leader after a strong showing in his first primetime leaders debate.
I've been, doing long, hard days to really build on that momentum and to pivot online, which, obviously the most overused word in the last 2 years, is disappointing.
The leaders of the PC party and the Liberals have tested this morning, and they say they're both negative.
But I encourage everyone to continue to follow the protocols. But we have a plan to keep the economy and the province open.
I think this is a good reminder that though we all want to be on the other side of this pandemic, that there are still risks.
The sidelining of Horwath and Schreiner comes at a critical moment as early voting begins.
And that was CTV's Siobhan Morris. Well, speaking of COVID-19, the number of cases at the Regional Health Sciences Centre has gone up today. There are now 35 COVID patients being treated at the facility, with 4 in intensive care. The hospital's occupancy rate sits at 103%, and the ICU is nearly 82% full. Thunder Bay City Council has delayed the final phases of the Balmoral Street reconstruction. The $8.3 million project was supposed to be awarded to Bruno's Contracting earlier this month, but the city is now waiting to see if federal funding is coming before it moves ahead. This phase of the project will rebuild the section between Alloy Drive and Beverly Street. It's a significant project that would also see storm sewers and multi-use trails added to both sides of the street. The funding the city's waiting for is under the Investing in Canada infrastructure program and would provide about $700,000 for the work. Based on the importance of the reconstruction, the city will likely still award the big contract soon, even if that federal funding doesn't come.
The city would look to fund this year. We're really hoping that we can leverage the provincial and federal government funding, but if we absolutely need to, I think that we would look to other areas of our budget to try and find something.
The federal government is currently reviewing Thunder Bay's funding request, but it's unclear when a decision will be made. Magnus Theatre has announced the upcoming season's lineup of productions. Officials also unveiled plans for an outdoor theatre tent, which will be used during the summer months. Magnus's 2022-23 season will feature 6 main stage plays, starting off with The Runner, a gritty one-person play that follows a volunteer whose job is to collect the remains of those killed in accidents. The other plays have a variety of themes, and the season will end with the comedy Father Penable, an adaptation of the play Tartuffe. Magnus artistic director Tom Curry is optimistic they'll be able to return to full capacity by the time the next season starts.
I want people to feel safe when they come to the theater. This is one of the reasons we're going outdoors for the summer. And then hopefully by September, we'll be able to welcome people back to a full auditorium and knowing that when they come to Magnus Theatre, they're safe.
As mentioned, Magnus is moving outdoors with the unveiling of its new outdoor tent. It will be set up behind the theater every summer to help protect actors and the audience from the elements. This July, Magnus is bringing back the musical called Home, a bluegrass celebration, which was presented indoors last September. Magnus also offered an outdoor show in September of 2020 due to the pandemic. The Patsy Cline musical was a big hit, but several shows that year had to be canceled due to rainy weather. Well, the first big concert at Fort William Gardens in 8 years is set to go tonight. Hip-hop artist Polo G is headlining the show, and he gave a shout-out on video to local fans today.
Yo, Thunder Bay, Canada, what's the word? It's Polo G. We got a sold-out show. I'm pulling up to Fort Williams Gardens on May 19th. It's going to be a lit night. Definitely one to remember. You don't want to miss it. I'm probably going to drown when I'm in it.
For those unfamiliar with Polo G, the 23-year-old Chicago rapper topped the Billboard album charts that last year and has had 10 songs on the Billboard Hot 100, including the #1 single Rap Star. The show is being presented by NV Music Hall, and more than 3,000 tickets have already been scooped up since they first went on sale in February. The doors at the Gardens open at 7 o'clock, with the opening act starting at 8. Well, Fiona, we see those cloudy conditions